continuing on. This is um, the linear shape of consciousness. Really helps to understand different levels of consciousness or the way that we perceive it to be. It was not only in Russia and the Middle East that people were looking for solutions. As new information poured in, different dimensions of consciousness were being unveiled all over the planet. These new discoveries created an explosion of interest in the science of consciousness and its applications in daily life. People everywhere searched for a more comprehensive model, one that integrated old theories with new information. At the same time, they needed a model that could provide practical solutions to the world's escalating social and biological problems. The linear world demanded an accounting. Toward this end, in 1997, I wrote a paper that included the 12 current leading schools of thought and theoretical frameworks about consciousness, and then compared them with the 20 known mechanisms of consciousness. I presented this paper in the 6th International Conference of Holodynamics at Dubna, just outside of Moscow, Russia, in 1997. Since the paper exploded certain dimensions of consciousness, I thought it would be of value to present some of that material and explore the various models of consciousness and compare them with the newly discovered mechanisms of consciousness. While this is a linear process, it prepares us to uncover the shape of consciousness, which unveils the holographic dimension of consciousness. There are at least a dozen major models of consciousness that have developed over the years, and while each model has contributed to our understanding, no model is considered comprehensive. A comprehensive model of consciousness would include: number one, a variable contribution of all other models, and number two, an improved explanation of their basic tenets. 3, a framework with internal integrity. 4, all new information within its tenets. 5, space for the integration of new information. And 6, practical solutions not effectively addressed by others. It's like understanding the parts of a car in order to make sure the motor is running properly. Any comprehensive theory of consciousness must include the new information on a mechanism of consciousness. Like a new car, the most important condition of the comprehensive model of consciousness would be its practical application. It must provide better, more practical solutions to problems that are not effectively addressed by other approaches. The holodynamic model of consciousness meets these requirements. Efforts to create a more holographic model have suggested in prior works that consciousness is, and as such, forms a fundamental part of our physical reality, as for example in Whitehead 1933, Chalmers 1966, or Penrose 1996. From this view, the universe is an interconnected, living, dynamic system of information in which everything is conscious. This is a valid step in the right direction. Allow me to explain ahead of time to anyone who objects to my attempt to compare, within the scope of this presentation, the various schools of thought regarding consciousness. In these comparisons, I have used other scholars, see for example Wilbur 1997, and my summary pretty much agrees with theirs. In addition, when I discuss the mechanisms of consciousness, I am making an attempt at identifying as many as 20 major recognized causal dimensions of consciousness. This list may not be complete. Still, I have created schemata in which the 12 schools of thought are charted along with the 12 mechanisms of consciousness. This chart is linear and helps identify which schools of thought have embraced the various mechanisms and which ones are pretty much ignored in the literature. Of course, I may not be fully aware of what each school embraces, and I certainly do not mean to imply that one school is better than another or even more complete. My effort is simply an invitation to all schools of thought to be inclusive as possible in what is now known about consciousness. About a holodynamic view, each school is viewed as a reflection of the whole dynamic, which distinctions are made showing the differences among various schools. I apply Townsend's principle that all P-brains are created equal. In this case, all dimensions of consciousness, including each school of thought concerning consciousness, have helped to create a tapestry of understanding. Like pieces of a giant puzzle, each school of thought is considered important to the whole picture. I trust that if I have left anything out, it is only because of the limited scope of this writing or my limited exposure. It is certainly not my intention. Throughout the gathering of this information, I have been guided by the litmus test of what works, or what generates results in the most effective, efficient way. Current schools of thought regarding consciousness. The most prominent and current school of thought regarding consciousness can be summarized as follows. 1. Cognitive science. Cognitive science views consciousness as hierarchically, it's a hierarchy, integrated networks. These schools of thought emerges out of structural functionalism and computer mechanisms as applied to the brain-mind interaction, and is summarized in works such as Alwyn Scott's Stairway to the Mind, 1995. This perhaps the most popular current theory of consciousness. Number 2, quantum consciousness. Quantum physics has contributed to the study of consciousness by focusing upon subatomic occurrences within the biological system, as in the quantum coherence. Froelich, 1968, Penrose, 1996. These occurrences take place among the microtubes of cytoskeleton systems of the cells, where they are combined with self-organizing information systems associated with quantum potential fields. Consciousness emerges from the quantum potential field from pre-computing counterparts in a complex feedback system joined to sensory input. This system maintains stability through microtubule-associated protein strings and dimmer molecules of the microtubulars. While this approach is perhaps the least understood of the major approaches to consciousness, its contributions are the most distinctive and significant in recent decades. Number 3 is neuropsychology. Neuropsychology is anchored to the idea that consciousness results from interaction among the neurotransmitters and other organic brain mechanisms. These mechanisms operate with sophistication that far exceeds any computer mechanism. Proponents contend that consciousness cannot be contained within the computer cognitive model, and therefore they seek biological living mechanisms to explain mind-body phenomena. Number 4 is clinical psychiatry. Clinical psychiatry is embedded in Freudian premise and focuses mainly on psychopathic behavior patterns and chemotherapy. Psychiatrists tend to overlap the neuropsychology and often merge their concepts with the clinical version of identity. Pathology is viewed as an imbalance between the neuronal systems and personal identity that can hopefully be corrected by chemotherapy. I'm not getting that this is chemotherapy. Individual psychotherapy. Individual psychotherapy uses the individual as its reference for therapy. Personal introspection and interpretive psychology are used to treat distressing symptoms and emotional problems. In this school of thought, consciousness creates meaning and significance in life. Disruption causes emotional stress. Carl Jung, for example, was one of the pioneers of this approach. He also expanded this view to include collective structures of intentionality that account for some aspects of consciousness and contribute to certain pathologies. Number 6, self-referencing. Self-referencing is a school of thought maintaining that individual experience. Anchoring in first-person accounts provides personal perception, self-organization of information, and interpretation, thus forming the basis of a person's reality. Broad schools of thought such as existentialism, philosophical intentionality, introspective psychology, and phenomenology fit into this category. While each has its own place of distinction, all maintain that self-referencing is the basis of individual reality. Number 7 is the developmental psychology. Developmental psychology focuses on stages of growth as an unfolding process containing substantially different architecture at each level of consciousness. Blocks in the natural process of growth created pathology. Therapy focuses upon reconstruction of blocked stages of growth in order to facilitate maturization. More advanced stages of growth include more mature stages of cognition, emotional sensitivity, as well as semantic, moral, and spiritual development. Healthy normal growth includes a successful progression from one stage of development to the next. 8. Social psychology. Social psychology includes networks of cultural patterning, social settings, collective beliefs, and societal influences within the framework of consciousness. Each social network influences both the developmental and characteristics of consciousness. Ecologist socialists such as Marxism, environmentalists, and constructivism all fall in this category. They seek solutions to the human condition by social intervention. Number 9, spiritualism. Spiritualism includes those who believe in miraculous healings, revelations, prayer, spontaneous remissions, biofeedback, and immunology. They view consciousness as intrinsically interactive within organic body processes. This mind can heal the body approach includes art therapy, sound therapy, use of crystals and other methods in intentional healing. Number 10, alternative states of being. An internal state of being can arise from any number of things, from dreams to psychedelic drugs. Such states of being produce non-specific amplification of consciousness and are, in spite of some of their controversial nature, part of the study of consciousness. Likewise, religion, euphoria, some forms of meditation, exercise, and other mind-altering experience are said to raise one's level of awareness, moving a person beyond the confines of their normal life and into higher states of consciousness. That one I really get a kick out of. It's sort of good, but it's also, it doesn't do, they all have flaws. Subtle energies. Subtle energies are postulated to exist beyond the realms of science, known as prana, ki, or chi, and used by practitioners as in Reiki or Karuna. These energies are held to be the missing link between intentional mind and physical body, moving energy back and forth, transferring the impact of matter to the mind. Proponents seek to impose the intentionality of mind upon matter. Holodynamics. In holodynamic world, the universe is conscious, composed of dynamic information networks that make up the fabric of reality in multiple dimensions of time and space. Human consciousness, aside from its multiple schools of thought and practical approaches, also reflects hidden dimensions such as holographics, microorganisms, holodynes, hyperspatial counterparts, and swarm intelligence. Consciousness manifests within each dimension according to an implicit order in which emerging potential is confronted with blocks that challenge their expression and cause problems. Solutions are found in the transformation of information systems, as in tracking holodynes or the pre-living and reliving field dynamics from the past and future. The infusion of new information tends to transform holodynes and release their potential for growth and integrity.